Welcome. It's good to be home. It's good to be back. I've got a lot, so I told Aaron, I said, boy, I got to move to try and get all this in, but I'm gonna do my very best. There's still a lot I'm not including that's there, but we can talk about that later. So let me go ahead and I'll pray. We'll take our offering, and then we'll jump right to it. Okay? I'll do a couple of announcements as well. Father, thank you again for this time to gather together. It is always a pleasure to gather with other believers and to worship and celebrate what you're doing. And we just pray once again that you would help us to have your heart, your mind. We love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen. So the big thing's coming up. It is Christmas time. Did you know that? Did you know that? We are 2 weeks away from Christmas Eve. How's that? That's moving pretty quick. So this Sunday, we will finish up our series that we're currently in, which is The Wonder of Christmas. Next Sunday, the 21st, will be our Christmas service, where we sing and celebrate. Then Christmas Eve is our candlelight Christmas Eve service. And right before that, we'll have our Pancakes with the Grinch. I would encourage you, this is an opportunity to invite somebody to church. Like, that's why we're doing it. It's an opportunity. Somebody, hey, I wouldn't normally go to church, but maybe they will. They'll come to eat pancakes and come join us afterward. Great opportunity to invite kids and family members. So that's we hope that you'll be able to connect them to church that way. All right? Those are pretty much the big events happening in the next couple of weeks. All right. So you can go ahead and throw up that first one. No, the next one there. Okay. All right. What I was a part of last week is called the Ambassador Summit 2025. By the time it's said and done, it was 1,100 pastors. I was contacted back in October through an organization I had already worked with before, and they said, hey, we are putting this thing together. All expenses are paid. Do you want to go? Duh. I mean, I'm not going to turn that down. Don't call me stupid, okay? You know. But that was the invite, and originally they were looking at the end of October, and some things didn't come together. And I guess it was June the first time I was kind of. Then they moved it to December. It was sponsored by Israel's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Friends of Zion organization, and so they wanted their there's a couple part goals. One, they wanted pastors to see and hear the truth of what's happening in Gaza, what's happening with Israel, some of the truth behind it, because if you're not, how many know that, like, you can read a lot of different insights on social media, what's real. And so they wanted us to see, this is what's really happening. Here is the stories. You can see it for yourself. The second one was they wanted the people of Israel to see that not all Christians hate Israel, because there are some loud voices that aren't a fan. And obviously we've talked about this, the replacement theology that's happening, that, well, Israel, you crucified Jesus, so you're not a part of it. That is not biblical. And so they wanted Israel to see, the Jewish people to see, like, there are people that are for you. You're not alone, because they do feel alone. And we could talk about that for just a second. So that was the multi kind of facet there. So some sightseeing where we got to go to different places, and then some of it was we were in sessions, hearing from leaders, hearing testimonies, we had panel discussions where they would ask questions and dialogue. And so it was a lot of bit of everything. Mostly we stayed in Jerusalem. I have already been before, so I had done all the other stuff. This was mainly in Jerusalem. So here's my goal. You have a sheet of paper. It kind of highlights some of the big things that I was a part of, we were able to go to. And I'll walk through some of those, and then I'll show you some pictures. Some I posted on Facebook. There were other pictures I didn't post on Facebook. I still have more that are out. I have a lot of pictures. And then some videos I have as well. So if you have a question, I would encourage you to jot it down while we're going through it. And then at the end, kind of like we always do on a Wednesday night, ask your question and we'll come back and visit. Because some of them I might answer later, some of them I may not get to. You with me? All right, so here we go. First day was travel day. It was a very long day. It's almost a 9-hour flight from Newark to Jerusalem. By the time I hit delay, I left here 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock on Sunday. And by the time I got to Newark, it was like 5 a.m. By the time delays all happened. It was a lot of travel. Then Tuesday we were unpacked and we had orientation, so we kind of knew what was going to happen, what was going to unfold that week. We got to learn a little bit of Hebrew. Every day they give us a little bit of Hebrew. I'm not going to go through them all. Todah, thank you. That was a big one we used. Sababa. Sababa means awesome or great or cool. So Sababa. Boker Tov, that was another one we used a lot. That's good morning. Beit Knesset, that's a house gathering church. Now, for the Jewish people, you kind of what we would say would be, I would say, probably, no, it's not quite a square mile, but they would have Knessets, which was like the community. And so community was all their gathering around. They did life together, and so you'd have these sections of groups of people, and that's how they kind of live. One that's not on there that I learned, abracadabra. How many of you have heard that before? Do you know that's actually Hebrew? It comes from Hebrew, and it actually means this: I'll talk and I'll create. Which, when you think about it, when someone's doing like a trick or something like that, that's kind of what they're doing. I'm going to talk and I'm going to give you an illusion or something. So, Jewish faith, there are basically 3 different sects. The first is the Orthodox, which you'll have the very observant, the strict. They don't serve in the IDF, which the IDF is the Israel Defense Force. They're strict rule followers. They're the ones that run the Jewish life, the rabbinical institution, which is funded by the taxpayers. There is no separation of church and state, okay? You're Jewish, this is the religion we practice, and everybody, it's all together, and it's the way we work. Taxes actually fund the rabbis and what they're doing. And they don't accept the Reform movement or the conservative movement as much, but they don't accept Reform movement at all. Reformed emphasizes individual autonomy and adapts Jewish practices to modern values. They often view the Jewish law as non-binding, so it's like, dare I say it, it's like the many people who are Catholic. Okay, I go to the Catholic Church, but I don't observe any of the things. I'm Catholic because I go to church. We have some Protestants that are probably that way too. I go to church on Sunday, but I don't actually live what I'm supposed to. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, so that's a lot of the Reformed theology. Conservative, they maintain the Jewish law as binding, but they allow for its evolution over time. It's interesting because, like, if you're going to get married or if you're going to do any of these, you have to go to the rabbi to do it, even though you might be Reformed or conservative. That's part of what you do. So even though they may not practice it on a daily basis, they will still do the other. All right, so day 3, we had our opening ceremony, and we went to Gaza area. The Nova Party is where, I don't know, how many of you are pretty familiar with what happened October 7th? Okay, the Nova Party was the first place that was attacked, one of their, we talked to a couple of people who were there, and there were drones in the sky, and they were waving to the drones because they thought the drones were part of the celebrations happening. Turns out they were actually Hamas. Then they saw some explosions and different things, and they thought, oh man, we're having fireworks, it's really cool. And then it sunk in what was happening. The place that's there now was a memorial that's established by families. By the way, I did not know this until I got there. Some of the stuff I'm going to share with you, a lot of it I didn't know, so I'm learning it. The first memorial in the world for 9/11 was put up by Israel. Did you know that? It was in Israel. It was put up by Israel. That's the first memorial in the world. So the memorials that are here at the Nova Part now have been established by families and other people. The government has not officially done anything yet. Some of it because it's not completely over, and they're kind of focused on other areas. The terrorists that attacked, they attacked in a kind of a coordinated area where they spread out. They attacked different Knessets and attacked people in their homes, attacked people in the party. People would drive down the road and they would shoot them in their car as they're driving down the road. Then they would get in the car and pull the car off to the side so the next person coming would be basically they're setting a trap. So the next person coming didn't know anything was wrong. They picture this, if you would, like a block in our city, okay, like a square block. In that square block, there would be maybe 3 to 4 bomb shelters, okay? The bomb shelters might hold a dozen people. Some are a little bit larger. And so when the alarm goes off that the shelter, that there's explosion, you do one of two things. You'd either run to your basement or you'd run to the bomb shelter. You'd have anywhere from 15 to 90 seconds to get safe, depending on where you lived. Nova was closer to Gaza. It's just across the border. And so you had 15 seconds. And what we found out was the terrorists, they actually put on the IDF forces garb, dressed as them, called people out and said, it's safe, it's safe, it's safe. And then as they came out, they shot them. They also threw grenades into the bomb shelter. So these people trying to flee for safety, they're not armed. The children, men, women, no, but you're not allowed to have any kind of gun whatsoever other than a handgun, and you have to get a permit for that. So it's not like people have just weapons lying around. One testimony we heard was there was a guy, he was actually in the IDF, but he was with people, and they went into a bomb shelter at 8 different times, 7 times, because the 8th time it wounded him. But 7 different times a grenade was thrown in, he threw the grenade back out. But that's what they did. And then they also shot people in their car, killed them dead, but then they burned the car, and the goal was, if we burn the car, they won't be able to recognize the body. And so it wasn't just, this is malicious, this is hatred. One of the comments that people is, hope is the last thing to die. As we're talking with the different generals and different things, part of the problem was in Gaza, Hamas had trained children from infancy. You're trained to hate the Jews. You're trained to hate them. And so when you grow up like that, that's the culture, that's the way of life. It's a completely different. One of the things we learned, like the Jewish people, for them it was about peace. We just want peace. We heard stories of Jewish people who actually rescued Arabs, who saved them. But then the Arabs turned around and killed them. The people who attacked in the Nova Party, it was employees who even killed their employer or their fellow employees. So that's the kind of hatred we're looking at. We heard from Colonel Golan Vach. There were more than 80 that were gathered and shot and burned in cars along the road. His job was to make sure that a sign that I'll show you in a little bit that's irrelevant. And he said it doesn't matter if they're Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, they're people. He actually received an award because he rescued, I think it was 12 Muslim people from danger and rescued them. He's like, we don't care if they're what their nationality is or what, they're people, and they deserve. So the Jewish outlook on life is what we would say is a Judeo-Christian. All life is sacred, right? Like it doesn't matter. You may not love me, but your life is sacred. So I will rescue you. And yet they're turned around and then they turn around and get shot at and killed and all kinds of other horrendous things. There's still, by the way, there's still one hostage left. I'm not sure if they know whether or not that person's alive or whether it's just that person's been killed. But they're still trying to get that last person out. Some hostages were kept 54 days, and it was all the way up to 584 days. Hostages, this was interesting because we heard from some of the hostages. They asked them, how did you know what's going on? Well, they had access to 2 news channels, Al Jazeera and CNN. Interesting, isn't it? That's the only 2 that they were allowed to watch. There's a car graveyard. It had 1,470 cars. 280 of them have been burned. There's an ambulance that I'll show you here. 18 people were burned in it. They killed people in the ambulance and then burned the ambulance and set it on fire. It took them 270 days to investigate because they had to try to separate all the DNA. Because as a Jewish person, they want all of your body, your belongings. They're buried. That's how they bury you. And so they have to separate all these different bones and all these different things. So it took them a while to go through some of the stuff. It's the first time since the Holocaust that Jews were burned. However, this time it was in their own country. It's that's a very sobering fact. And then we had opening services with the prime minister. He had a video message for us. President of Israel was there, foreign minister, the speaker of the Knesset, Mike Huckabee, who was our ambassador to Israel. And by the way, there are 700,000 Americans living in Israel. So when Israel is attacked, it's really an attack on the U.S., if you think about it. The Hamas war, and you won't hear this anywhere in the news, the Hamas war has had lower civilian deaths than any other war per capita. I don't know if you, I always hear like, oh yeah, you're attacking schools, you're killing children. Like, there's been less than, they're at war, okay? A terrorist organization came in, shot children, men, women in their homes. When people fled for safety, they killed them, they pursued them. They set traps for people. They attacked, by the way, on the Sabbath, knowing that it was the day that the Israel Defense Forces were not on watch because they were on Sabbath. And now Israel is not, it's interesting because Israel's one of the only countries in the world, if not the only country in the world, that's not allowed to retaliate when it's attacked. Think about it. If Israel retaliates, everyone talks bad about them. When America was attacked, everyone was like, oh, you're getting ready to get a beat down, right? It was expected. But Israel gets attacked, and they're not allowed to fight back. Some pictures we've got here. Or maybe not. Do you need to reset it? If you do, I'll keep going and we'll come back to it. All right. We'll come back to it. Okay. So this was the main. Did you reset it? Okay. So here, we'll come back to it. Then the next day we went to Mount Herzl. Mount Herzl is their Arlington Cemetery. Okay, I'm familiar with Arlington where the soldiers go to die. They have the choice, if they're a soldier, they can be buried here, or if their parents have a special place, they can go be buried there. So we heard from Lieutenant Colonel Tomer Grinberg and Sergeant Major Naphtali Gordon. We heard a couple testimonies as well. Then we visited the soldiers' graves, got to see what was happening with them. After that, we went to the IDF Army base, which was really cool. Because we actually, not many people get to go in the Army base and sit and talk with generals and sit and talk with some of the people there. We heard from one of the person who's like a former, not Mossad, but their intelligence agency. And we weren't allowed to take pictures or anything. Because you can't do anything because this is who we're talking about. And they shared with us some of their strategic things that they had to go through, some of the issues they had. There was a delay in the response, and they know that. And they're trying to figure out what happened. Some of it was because of the fact that it was the Sabbath. Some of it was because, when Hamas attacked, Hamas was expecting Hezbollah and Iran and even some of the Arabs within Jerusalem to start fighting. It was a miracle that none of them did. And because none of them did, Hamas was taken out. You're right. Should we just go through the picture? All right. So this is the main stage at the Nova Festival. There were two different stages, but every sign you see was a person. And this is just like a portion of it. And so just imagine all these people being just murdered. And they were doing nothing other than celebrating. You can go ahead. This is the sign that the general's like, we want to get rid of this. But hey, there's a threat of rockets, so you need to get here in 15 seconds. Depending on what community you're in, you have anywhere from 15 to 90 seconds. Mike Huckabee shared a story when he was sharing with us that during the 12-day war that was happening with Iran, it was pretty common for them to up to 5 times a night to have to go to shelter. And here's the crazy thing. That's how they live every day. Every day. It is that's foreign to us. But when you picture that every day someone could attack, every day someone could. Now, they have a wonderful defense system, and they have, the Iron Dome is amazing. But just think about it, that's a part of their day. One of the things he told us is this. You might hear some explosions. You might hear some rockets. It's because that we're still fighting. The best thing you can do is look around and see what the Jewish people are doing. If they're running, you run. So that's kind of, but this is how they live. So you can go ahead. This is the ambulance that was burned. 18 bodies, again, just terrific. Go ahead. So these are just the bullet holes and the cars that were shot up. Do you see the cars in the background? So those are all every car that's burned. And what happened is this was originally was a place where they were just putting the cars because insurance and all that kind of, they were trying to, and they had to count bodies and trying to figure out who's missing, trying to figure out all those things. And so this started, and then it became a memorial. It's not an official memorial, and I don't know that they're going to make it one, but right now it is what it is. Go ahead. And I know you can't see the background because of the sun, but all along that back, you see the tree sticking up? That's a tree. The rest of that's all cars piled up. And it's just a pile of cars all the way around. Again, almost 1,500 cars. Go ahead. And there are stories from those vehicles of people who got in their car, found people, drove them to safety, drove back, got more people, and like there are stories of heroism and all kinds of things, and there's stories of people who did not get out. So that was part of the just atrocity. Living in this area, you have 7 million Jews, 2 million Arabs, and another 1 million Christians and others living in this area. They told us, listen, this is not an international issue. This is not a national issue. This is not a political issue. This is a religious war. This is a religious thing. The Muslims still to this day call the Jews occupiers. They do not recognize the Jewish state. They don't want it to be there. Iran and Qatar are the financial source of many terrorist groups in the Middle East and in Africa. We're seeing the same things happen in Africa. What's going on? Israel has been attacked 52 times in history, and 39 times they've been conquered. Talk about a place that's been under threat of war. Again, it's the land bridge between Africa and Europe. So it's the place to go because everywhere else is desert. Israel has worked and worked and worked for peace. They've gave up concessions all the time. They've won wars, and yet they still are fighting for peace. We learned that the Muslims, especially those in Iran, pray 100 times a day, 100 times a day, for the destruction of Israel and the destruction of America. It's an active thing. This is from the Muslim. They believe Israel is the small Satan and America is the great Satan. So Israel is just the starting point. There is an active attempt to against America as well. Then we went to the Southern Steps and we worshiped together, had a great moment there. The Southern Steps, the place that Jesus would have walking into the temple. We went to the Western Wall. Western Wall, commonly called the Wailing Wall. That's not a proper term. It's really the Western Wall. We met with Chief Rabbi Rabinowitz, and he prayed a prayer and read from the scriptures, and so that was a good moment we had there. We'll go ahead and show some pictures that day. So this is there Arlington. It would be Mount Herzl. You could see each one of, so let me grab my thing. Here we go. Okay, this is a tomb. This is the tomb. This is a tomb. This is a tomb. These are the headstones right here. Okay, and they're just laid out. And then we had the opportunity to put a rose and a flag on a tomb and to pray for the families that have been buried there. So go ahead. I got to meet Yaakov Amador. He's the former Major General, National Security Advisor of Israel, head of the Research Department of Israeli Military Intelligence. That was pretty fun. And he sat down and talked with us, and he goes, I'll talk with you guys forever. I'll tell you. And he laid out all kinds of information and details. It was really fascinating. Go ahead. Southern steps, and we're looking towards the city of David, city of Jerusalem, and the wall is behind us. So this area right here is what is called the city of David, the old city, all in that area. And if you turn to the left this way, it should be the next picture, I think. This is the Mount of Olives up here. And you notice, see all this stuff right here? These are all graves. These are all the way up the mountain, they're graves. And so each one of those little moments are graves. We'll see a different angle. But it's pretty amazing when you get there. Go ahead. Then we went to the Western Wall, and we went to the Western Wall Tunnel. This is where they've done some excavation. You can see it's not too wide. It was pretty, you had a little bit of shoulder length, but basically the Western Wall is here on the right here. And then you're walking that tunnel down what would be the entire Western Wall. I've got another picture here. I'll show you kind of where we walked. But it was really fascinating. This is, I didn't fill in the text. Wonderful. This is actually a sanctuary or a place of worship. This is where it's not really a tabernacle of sorts, but they've made it into one. This is underground. This is in the Western Wall tunnel. So that's where you can kind of see the podium right here. Go ahead. So when you're looking at Israel and you're looking, that part right here, this is the part of the wall we see. Okay? The rest of this is all underground. Okay? We actually, when we went under here and we walked along all the way down this side of the Western Wall. Okay? So it's all underground. This is the only part that is currently visible, that is currently up. The rest of it is gone, destroyed. But when we talk about the Western Wall, again, it's not the wall of the city, it'd be the wall of the temple within the city, okay? Go ahead. So this is that part. This is the Western Wall. 1,000 pastors are here. You'll notice, kind of see where these white canopies are here. Okay, that's kind of, there's a divider here. The women go pray on this side of the wall, and the men pray on this side of the wall. And they will take a piece of paper, and you'll write your prayer request, and you'll stuff it in the wall, and you'll pray, and you can see them praying, and they kind of bob their head like this, and that's because they typically have their Torah or whatever memorized, and so it's repeating it to a rhythm. But we each had an opportunity to pray at the wall. It's interesting because they said you get a sheet of paper, and it's like you write what you're praying about, and it really makes you think about what's important because you're not writing a book. You get a little sheet of paper, okay, Post-it note size. What's important? What are you praying for? And then over to this side here, I don't think you can see it. There's an entrance, and they have some more writings, and they have another place where a lot of the rabbis go to pray. Go ahead. We ate up here, and then looking down, this was most of the people here are our group because it's in the evening, and so people are already gone, and you have some rabbis. And so we had some time that we were able to spend here. I think we probably spent a little over an hour, maybe 2 hours here. Go ahead. And then here we have the rabbi. We're at the Western Wall. Can you see me? I'm in that photo. I'm hidden. I'm I'm right there. I was hanging out. It was pretty cool. It was a good day. Go ahead. And yeah, he just gave me the nod. What's up, dude? You know, that's it. We had that. Go ahead. And so later, all the other groups had left, and we're just waiting there, and it was almost empty. And this is one of my favorite shots. You got the full moon, and you could see kind of some of the rabbis up here still praying, but that was a really cool. Go ahead. Okay, so this is what would be a model of the temple. Okay, and so this is where we would have walked. We walked all the way down here. You have a pool cistern that's here. This is the fort that is on the corner. Then you have the temple. You have your entrance, and then what would be the Holy of Holies in this area here. Go ahead. All right. All right, day 5. Shiloh is the correct pronunciation I learned. It's Shiloh. You emphasize the low. Obviously, some significance here, if you didn't catch it. Joshua 18, this is where the tabernacle is set up the first time after they crossed from the Jordan into Israel. 1 Samuel 3, this is where Hannah prays, right? Lord, give me a son. And then, of course, she has a son, and she dedicates him back to God. And, of course, Samuel, this is where he would have been, where he hears Samuel, and he runs to Eli. Yes, where are you calling me? He's like, I didn't call you. And, of course, who's calling him? It's God. So this would have been in this place. It would have been the first capital for Israel for about 500 years. Then it's moved to Jerusalem. And so we have the tabernacle site just off to the north, I believe, would be the Way of the Patriarchs. I have a picture of that I'll show you. And then I was not expecting this, but they had the red heifers at Shiloh. And so we were able to see those, and that was pretty interesting. And then we went to the Friends of Zion Museum, which obviously they're the ones who helped put this on. And so that was really special. All right, go ahead. All right, this is pretty much the landscape. If you're not in the city, everything outside the city, a lot of limestone, olive trees. You'll have some areas that are cleared out for modern things, but if it's not touched, it's like this. And then if you go to the Jordan area, no trees, more rocks, more desert. So on the Israel side, you'll see some greenery, not so much on the other side. Go ahead. Again, so you see the kind of the olive grove here. They're only allowed to harvest a certain amount of olive trees every year, only allowed to do a certain amount of work. And then all the limestone, they cut a lot of buildings. A lot of the older buildings are made with that. So this would have been kind of how it looked in Jesus' day. There's not a lot of change to it. Go ahead. So as we're traveling, you see the wall here. Okay? The wall is the separation from a Muslim area and the Jewish area. So that to prevent against some attacks, to prevent against difficulties. I'll show you in a minute. It's interesting because in some areas they have a wall, and in some areas Muslims and Jewish people live side by side. In some areas they're literally across the street from each other. And I asked our guide, I was like, why is it that some Muslims you can be side by side with, especially in the city, in the old city? Why is that? And he goes, because you kind of know when you know what you're going to lose, you'll behave. Because if they act up, they're gone, and they'll lose what they have. So go ahead. So this is the difference. So these white things are actually water. If you'll notice here, this is a solar panel, but the solar panel actually takes water through the solar panel all the way up and then into the tank, and so it's hot and ready. Like you turn on the water to hot, you get hot water almost instantly. And so these are on all the houses. However, when you get to the Muslim house, they add a black tank on top of it. And they were asked, why the black tank? No one really knows. They just don't want to be like them. And very other instances, this area that you see is well maintained. This area is a little bit more trashy and not as kept nice. And it's just, so when you're traveling, you're like, oh, whitewater tank, that's a Jewish community. Tanks with black water, that's a Muslim community. It's an easy way to know the difference. Go ahead. This is old Shiloh. We're standing on the ground here, and then up here is new Shiloh. It's been added since. And so they do not do when they're doing archaeology, they only do a certain percentage because they want to leave more for the next generation, even though it's like, if you guys would just start digging, you'd find all kinds of great artifacts. It's also interesting, one of the things we learned was the Muslims, when it comes to the Quran and those kind of things, they have no reference to Jerusalem and this area in their holy books, yet they will have sites set up and things, and we're asking why they do this, because they just don't want the Jews to have it. So if they can make a site, this is the holy site, we have it, you can't have it. And so that's been an issue. Go ahead. So this is the way of the patriarchs. This is the way Abraham, Isaac, Jacob would have traveled. Obviously, not the paved road, but you can see there's a mountain here, and you have a range here, and this is a valley. And so that's the easy way to travel. And this goes from Hebron, which, is that right? I hope I got that right. Wherever, was Abraham from? Is that right? Help me out, Ron. Is that? Okay, too many names, too many cities. And so then it comes, and then this goes into Jerusalem. And so this is the best way to travel. This would have been the way they came. It's interesting because Shiloh is actually kind of out. It's not the middle of the area, which is why it was no longer the capital city. It's why the tabernacle was moved to Jerusalem. But so this place would have been traveled by them. Go ahead. So this is the temple site. This is the site that they've discovered as they've been digging. The entrance of the temple would have been here, and then you have the boundary of the temple here and here, and you have that. You asked me how I know that. How did the Jews set up their temple? Huh? What? No, not Herod's temple. This is the tabernacle. This is where when they come into the land, this is the first place they set up. Remember, the tabernacle was always take it down as you move, right? This place becomes the first place that it's actually set and doesn't move. Ron said it. Why? It's facing east. So it's always facing east. The east is here. They come in here, and then this way, I'm going to turn the camera. Go ahead. And then this is the backside tabernacle. This part where they've been digging here, you could see this would have been where the Ark of the Covenant would have sat. And so then more and more they're excavating. They're finding different things. They find pottery. They find, hey, this is where they brought grain offerings. This is where we have evidence of bones or whatever. All those different things they're finding here. And so it's still kind of an active site, but they have all that there. Go ahead. The red heifers. I think there were 4 of them that I saw. They may have had some. They were actually. This is so. They had we came in a room, had a glass wall, and you could see into the pen, but that's it. You were not allowed to get near them at all because, of course, they're pretty special to them. Go ahead. Okay, this is we are on the west side. Southwest side of the city. So I'm going to try to do this here. Okay. On this side, over this mountain here, you would have the Dead Sea. Okay? In the middle of this valley here, again, this would be, this side right here would be King David City. Okay? The old city. Okay? this part here, right in the middle in this valley, that is where the war of 1948 ended. Okay? When it ended there, this actually becomes the border between Jordan and Israel. And then later that border is moved after Israel wins another war. The towers up here, right there, is the Mount of Olives. The one here is the Ascension Church. That is the church where Christ ascended from this place. A lot of Catholic places here, they claim this is the spot. And then they build a church around the spot so that no one else can have access to it except them. Then you have the Victoria Monastery, which is right over there somewhere. Right here is the Kidron Valley. Mount Scopus is right there. The Golden Dome of the Rock is right here. We're going to zoom in a second and see that. And then you have the center of the Jewish quarter, which is over there. Go ahead. Go to the next one. I think I zoomed in. Yeah, so Mount of Olives, see it up there? Okay. Golden Dome, Dome of the Rock. Okay. And then here you see the wall. Here's the southern steps right here. That's where we did it. And then this, of course, is the city. Here's the Kidron Valley, the slope. There's nothing built on it. We asked them why, and they haven't given a real answer to that. I think I got one. Do I have one more? Okay, yeah, I went more left. So this white dome right here, between those two, that is where the Jewish quarter lies. And so you have this wall, southern steps. You have the wall that goes down here, comes back, and then you have another wall that goes on this side. Okay? And you notice, like outside the city, it's pretty much wall-to-wall housing. And that's pretty much how they live. There are some people that live inside the temple wall, what would be the temple wall, and they are like on the second story. So shops are on the first floor as you walk down through thing, and then there's people living above them. And then some areas, you have those. Is that the last one? Oh, I just zoomed in. So you can kind of see. What quarter do you think this is right here? Who lives there? How do you know it's Muslim? Yes. Black. See the black on top of the roofs? Those are all Muslims. White and black. Jewish only have white. Muslims have white and black. They add the black. So this would be a Muslim quarter. All right. I think that's the last one. Oh, video? Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone.
This is one of my favorite speakers.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. As we culminate these statements, I can't help but to reflect upon the statements of our visionaire on the opening night. When Dr. Evans stood and said that the vision that God had given him would outlive him because he would not be here to finish it, but that's a God-sized vision. And as I think about that vision, I begin to think about that while we're here at Shiloh. Shiloh once served as Israel's early spiritual center, a place where God's presence dwelled before the temple stood. And by the time we arrive at 2 Chronicles 7, Solomon has dedicated the temple in Jerusalem, and God responds with a divine declaration that does more than bless the moment. It sets forth a pattern for God's people in every generation. And 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves together and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from my Father in heaven and forgive their sins and heal their land. In a verse, God provides a conditional covenant, a divine direction, and a redemptive roadmap. If God's people will humble themselves, pray and seek his face, and turn from their wickedness, then God will hear, forgive, and heal our land. When God says he's his people, he is identifying not only the people of Israel, but he's identifying you and me that are here gathered as partners and ambassadors of Israel, that if we, the people of God, called by his name, called not casual, not chosen, not chance, covenant people, not cultural people, And if we have a posture, this posture requires humility. If we bow before God, admitting our inability, acknowledging his authority, and abandoning our self-sufficient, according to the word of God, the petition that God desires is that we pray. We pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We pray for the prosperity of his people, that peace be within his walls and prosperity be within his places. And we pray this not as a ritual, but we pray this out of a relationship. And we find that the pursuit is that we're to seek the face of God. We're not here to seek his hands or to seek his presence, but we're to seek his sovereign and divine will. We're here to seek his grace and his sovereignty. And as we seek him, we must turn from our wicked ways. For all of us have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And as we know in America, there are those with replacement theology, and there are those who stand on their podcast and declare that Israel is not what God said Israel is. But we as ambassadors of the Lord Jesus Christ will go back home and stand with Dr. Evans and declare that what God said about Israel is still right. And we stand with God. We stand with Israel. We stand on the word of God. Those who bless Israel, God will bless. Those who come against Israel, God will come against. So if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, here is the promise of God. I will hear from my Father, and I will heal your land. The land is sick, but the healer is here. The land is damaged, but the deliverer is here. The land is hopeless, but the hope is here. And we stand on the word of Jesus Christ. And when I get back home, I'm going back with the National Faith Advisory Board, and we're going to stand before President Trump, stand before Vice President Vance, and declare that we stand with Israel, and America will stand with Israel in Jesus' name. Give God praise.
That was just one of the sections. Get a little worked up over there. So one of the things you have to learn is Israel is a land. Israel is a people. Israel is a state. Israel is a religious community, religion, and Israel is a government. Which one do you stand for? I would argue that we have to stand for all of them. Now, does that mean that we agree with every decision the Israeli government makes? Probably not. But they, again, overwhelmingly, one of the things we saw was Israel wants peace. Israel tries and strives for peace. They are not, you think, I could walk you through some of the history, but Israel has had the opportunity to kick the Muslim community out. And probably rightfully so, they should have. Did they? No, because that's not their heart. So again, this is one of those things that it doesn't, just like America. Does America do everything perfect? No, but we still believe that we have it better than most other nations, right? Israel would be similar. Go ahead. Is that okay? So, oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna try to finish. Day 6, we went to the Garden Tomb and then the Old City. You will notice in the Garden Tomb the Byzantine crosses. Jesus Christ, Alpha and Omega. The Byzantine area would have come in. They would have marked the tombs. There's a possibility they used them for people. There's a possibility they used them as even a stall for animals. And then they were abandoned. No one really had marked this area, or if they did, it was lost. Because remember, you have this area being changed of hands multiple times. Okay? The Crusades come in because it got under Arab control, and they try to kick out the Arabs. And then the Arabs come back in and kick out the Crusades. And then the Crusades come back in. So this is going back and forth, back and forth. And so sometimes there was a landmark. Sometimes the Muslims destroyed that landmark. Other times it was hidden. So as things are being discovered, it's like, this was here, this was here. Oh, we were, and so that's why some of these things you'll see why we get them. It was actually discovered in 1867. You have an antechamber and then a burial chamber. So the chamber, by the way, on the back table, I've got a lot of resources you can look at, check out. There's a model, it's a scale model of the tomb. You'll notice the chamber on the left, we'll see a picture here. The chamber on the left is the chamber that they prepare for body. Then they would have a place where the body's laid. And then after the body's laid and done, then as bones decay and they break down, everything breaks down, they would gather everything up and they put it in a urn, and then they would put that in the next little chamber. So that's how all the family, and they had a family tomb. Mark chapter 16, verse 5 says, when they entered the tomb, they saw a young man clothed in white sitting on the right side. So when they walked in, they turned to the right. And again, this is why this argument that this is the tomb. It's also a possible place where Stephen was stoned. And I'll show you that in a second. But Acts chapter 7, verse 58. They dragged him out of the city and began to stone him. His accusers took off their coats and laid them at the feet of a young man named Saul. Found out, I did not realize this, that Jeremiah was probably imprisoned here when he wrote Lamentations. And so Jeremiah 38:6. Are you getting a hum now all of a sudden? Is that me? So the officials took him to cell, lowered him to the ropes into an empty cistern, into the prison yard. It belonged to Malchijah, a member of the royal family. There was no water in the cistern, but there was a thick layer of mud at the bottom, and Jeremiah sank down into it. We'll show a picture here in just a second. Then we walked the Via Dolorosa. Most of the Via Dolorosa is uphill, and it's not an easy uphill. It is a good uphill. It'll get you your workout. Why was Simon there? Who, remember, Christ falls, and they choose Simon to carry the cross. Again, the cross most likely was not the full cross, but it was a cross beam that goes across the hands. Again, like Christ, he was on a pilgrimage, because what it was the Jewish faith, what did you have to do? You had to go to Jerusalem, and during the Passover. There are 14 stations of the Via Dolorosa. Many of them are Catholic in retrospect, that this is the place where this happened, and this place so-and-so gave their handkerchief to Jesus, so-and-so. And so it's interesting how that's marked and done. You have 4 quarters inside the city. You have a Muslim quarter, a Jewish quarter, a Christian quarter, and an Armenian quarter. And those 4 get along. You have to. Otherwise, you're getting out. And then you have the Church of the Sepulchre, which is the church that is built on what they say, the Catholic Church, is the Golgotha and the tomb spot. They build this church, and then it goes back and forth. And so the British and the French actually come together and say, okay, who's going to be in charge of this? Is it going to be the Armenian people? Is it going to be the British people? Is it going to be the French people? They literally divide everything within the church, down to the candlesticks. And so you'll walk in and you'll be like, well, this candlestick is lit and this one's not. And it's because this one was lit by a Catholic person and the Armenian person hasn't come and lit that candle. They showed us, they're like outside, you could see this old ladder that's leaning up against the church. And they're like, that ladder has been there for 135 years. And they're like, why is the ladder there? Because no one's allowed to move it because it's an Armenian ladder. And when they ask, well, they're Armenian, hey, you want to go get your ladder? He goes, no, I'm going to leave it there. I might need it sometime. So that's, no one can touch. So everybody has this unique little spot. And obviously the temple's destroyed in 70 AD. It's interesting. I did not put this together, but they talked about it. Do you know what year the Roman Colosseum was built? 73 AD. You know where they got the money to build the Roman Colosseum? When they destroyed the temple in 70 AD. Because what was the temple made of? Gold, silver, precious. I mean, you got all. So they sack the temple and they go back and they build the Colosseum with the money. Then we went back to the tomb. We had communion. We were 1,100 pastors, and so they divided the group in half. And so there's like 550 of us at the garden tomb at one time, and we had communion. We sang. And I ran out of that grave, right next to the grave. It was kind of one of those special moments. And then, all right, we're good. Okay, go ahead. Okay, this is an old picture of Golgotha as it was original. Again, I say Golgotha, this is the proposed site of what it was. Most likely, very possible. Okay, can you see the eyes? Okay, and you have the like, kind of nose, kind of creepy little skull mouth. Okay, this is the well and the cistern. So this is probably the spot where Jeremiah was thrown. Then this down here, this area down here was commonly known as a place of stoning. You were taken outside the city and you were stoned right at this spot. And again, that's where there wasn't like 15 places of stoning. There's one. And so Stephen, when he's here, it's very, very likely he was stoned here. Okay? And again, Christ would have been crucified up here. Why is it outside the city? Why do you have it? It's a reminder for anyone walking inside the city. If you mess up, this is what happens to you. Interesting enough, in I think it was the 80s, I want to say, there was snow on this, and snow fell down, and it kind of broke the nose, so it doesn't quite look the same today. Go ahead. So here's today. Here you have, this is the cistern. Again, it's been excavated so they could see it. And here you have the eyes. See it? This would have been the place where the stoning took place. Okay? Go ahead. Here's the place for the tomb as it was found in 1867. And so you have the chamber where you prepare the body, the place where the body lays, and the place where you would, if you had a second person, you would lay them here too, but then you also put your cisterns there and stuff. And you could see this is where the Byzantines marked. And those are still, they're faded today. One is almost completely gone. The other is still kind of there. Go ahead. This is the Damascus Gate. It's probably one of the most ornate gates in the city. It's interesting because all the gates are named based on what they're facing. So if you turn around and walk the other direction, where are you headed? Damascus. So you kind of know where you're going. And so if you walk back up the road, probably, it wasn't a mile, probably shorter than that, you hit the Garden Tomb. Right outside the city, the Garden Tomb. And the tomb is probably maybe 90 meters from Golgotha. Like, it wasn't very far at all. All right, go ahead. So at every station, again, there's 14 stations they mark. It's the Via Dolorosa. You will have a sign like this, and this is station number 5. Okay, see the V? Okay, and then they say this is the station where, I don't know. I don't know what station this is because I don't know the symbol. This might be Simon helping to carry the cross. But so every one of these will have a little kind of thing, and they'll have this thing, and so that's how you know you're walking on this path. And again, was it the exact steps? No, because remember, Israel's been destroyed, built on, destroyed, built on, destroyed, built on. So you need to go down many layers to actually put your feet on. There are some places, for example, the southern steps, Jesus would have walked there. That place is correct. These have been built upon, but anyway, it's interesting how they mark them. Go ahead. This is the Via Dolorosa. We're walking it, and these are shops that are on the sides. And then you will have up here, somebody might live up here. Go ahead. This is a shop that all they do is sell spice. And they make this little, notice what's on the top? What is that? Anybody see? You recognize it? That is the Golden Dome. Okay? It's a model ago. So what kind of shop do you think this is? It's an Arab shop. Okay? That's how you know. They have different things. And go ahead. Okay, this is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And what they've done, they've built the church on top of what they claim is Golgotha. Okay? So if you'll notice, you see the rocks? Okay? See the rocks right here? And then this little cutout right here, you will go inside, kneel, and pray. And they say this is the spot right here where the cross was. So you can go and you can kneel right at the foot of the cross. And of course, this you can look down and see it, but they claim that this is Golgotha. Again, I don't know. It's just outside the city, or maybe, but I think the other one is more likely. But anyway, all right, go ahead. All right, this is interesting. Okay, there's a line to get in here, if you can't tell, and it's a pretty big line. Do you want to know why? Because they claim that this is the tomb where Jesus is buried. Here's the interesting part. So what they did is they found a cave here, and trying to do what Catholic Church does is they want to build a monument for that. So what they did, if you picture it like this, the cave is a donut. Okay? Your inside here this is where the body lays, and then you have your cave walls. They took out all the cave walls, so all you're left with is the hole in the middle of the donut, and then they built that structure around the middle hole of the donut. Just how they did it. So, all right, go ahead. This is one of the areas that break off there that they have, again, very ornate, very decorated. They, from what we understand, they still have some services here, still do different things here, but this is one of the rooms to the offshoot. Right behind us would be where they claim the tomb is. Go ahead. This is one of the shops in the Jewish quarter. Interesting, isn't it? You know why? Alabama was the first state in the U.S. to recognize the Jewish state. So they have a shop, Alabama. We love Alabama. So that was yeah. Go ahead. We did not have a lot of free time, but this is probably one of my favorites. We had some free time, and in our free time, we're like, well, where do you want to go? I have already done it before. We're like, let's go to the Garden of Gethsemane. Let's go visit. And so we got to the garden, like we literally walked in, and they shut the door behind us and closed for the night. So we're the last people in. It's the evening. They had a private function after us, but that didn't happen for like another 45 minutes or an hour. And so basically there were 6 of us. We had the entire garden to ourselves. And we were there for probably like an hour and a half. And it was just, I could spend a lot of time there. But I'm in the garden looking towards the city, okay? So this is the city wall. What gate do you think that is? The Eastern Gate, the Golden Gate, okay? That is the gate. It's been sealed. It was sealed in, I want to say 1541. I hope I got my dates right. The Muslims sealed it because they don't want the Messiah to enter there. Then they turned around, and I don't know if you can see it here, but all these things right here along the edge, those are all tombs. They built a graveyard just outside the gate because why? We don't want the Messiah. We're going to try to block the Messiah in, and he's not going to walk across our grave, and he's not going to enter the city because we blocked it. And how many of you think that that's going to keep Jesus out? Okay, but that's their intent. So just kind of perspective-wise, I'm standing at the west edge of the Garden of Gethsemane, okay? So the garden is directly behind me. This is in front of me. And then just what would be this way would be the Mount of Olives, okay, to kind of give you. So walk down the Mount of Olives. You would actually walk down in front of here, and then you'd go up on this side over here a little bit, and that starts the Via Dolorosa. Okay, does that help you with some perspective on what? Go ahead. This is the Church of All Saints. This is the church, again, that was built on top, it's right next to the garden, but it's on top of the rock that they believe that Jesus prayed upon. And so, again, that's typically what the Catholic Church does. You find a spot, you build it there, and make it protects it in one stance, but also kind of creates this holy place is the best way to do it. So again, nobody's here except there was one guy sitting. Where's he at? There's one guy sitting right here. He was the only guy there. We walked in, and like 10 minutes later, he left, and we had the whole place to ourselves. So you walk down here this way right here, and right here you will see the next picture. This is the rock. It probably sticks above the ground, maybe that high. It's not very high, but it's huge, right? Pretty big. And they encourage you, you kneel next to that, put your hands on the rock, pray just like Jesus did. Did Jesus pray on this rock? I have no idea. But it's right next to the Garden of Gethsemane. He's probably like 30 feet away is the garden. He could have. I don't know. But it's kind of cool, kind of special. So anyway, go ahead. Picture of the garden. Again, there are 8 trees, I believe. 8. They did a DNA test on 8 of the trees. 8 of the trees had the same DNA, which means they all came from the same root, which is interesting. Go ahead. This is the oldest tree in the garden, is what they believe. It's over 2,000 years old. If I stood next to it, this is where kind of like my head reaches. So that's like 6 feet. So it's pretty tall. Go ahead. Yeah, I think the first video, is we're going to walk into the tomb. And then the second video, I'm just going to give you the garden. And there's no audio. You can cut the audio because no one needs the audio. Just turn it off and I'll talk through it. Go ahead. Okay, so here's where the stone would be, right? And that little trough. Walk in. Here's where you prepare the body. There's where the body would be laid. And then you have the other, you could have another body here if you needed, or you'd have the urns placed up on the wall here. There's a vent shaft right here, so the smell would not be bad. Wasn't very tall. Like you couldn't, my head was right at the ceiling. And the entrance here was much shorter. The top had been carved out higher. Again, there's your stone, where the stone would be, right here. Okay, here's the garden. I am on oh, good grief. It was just the south side, I think. You're not allowed to walk in here anymore. You have to stay on the outside. The Golden Gate is this way. All right, I got to move fast. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. Last day we went to the Mount of Olives. It was Sunday. We had a worship service and morning service at the Mount of Olives. Of course, the Mount of Olives should be familiar with all of us. It's where Jesus gets on a donkey and begins the descent into the city. It's also, if you go to Acts, it's the place he ascends to heaven. And the angel says, why are you standing here watching? Because the same way you saw him leave, he will what? Return. And then we went to Jerusalem Theater, and we had several different panels. Mike Huckabee shared with us again. We had the foreign minister share some stories with us and encourage us. And then the next day, then we traveled home. I think I got a couple more pictures. And then I don't know if we have time for the video. Maybe you guys, are you okay with time-wise? Okay. So again, we're on the top of the Mount of Olives. You can see these are graves. Every one of these is a grave. Okay, you see them all down here, all the way down the mountain. The Dome of the Rock here. Here's the Golden Gate. Okay, Garden of Gethsemane is down here. Here is, we're going to move this way. Okay, we're going to move that way towards more the top of the mountain. Go ahead. Okay, this is the only path down the mountain. Okay, so because of how the grave, the tombstones are laid out, this is the only path down, which means what? This is where Jesus walked. Now, it wouldn't have been paved. It wouldn't have been, but this would have been the path that he takes on the donkey. And it goes all the way down. It kind of winds down the path. Of course, if you remember what's happening, Jesus is riding on the donkey, and the people are shouting what? Hosanna, Hosanna, laying the palm branches down. The Pharisees get upset and they say what? Tell your people to shut up. And Jesus says what? If I tell them to be quiet, what's going to happen? The rocks will cry out. The rocks will shout. And he goes down this, and then, of course, you would go farther this way, way up here, and then you have the Via Dolorosa. So he would enter in through the Via Dolorosa, and then most likely come back, and I'll show you why. I think it makes sense. Go ahead. Yeah, I met a friend. That was the only camel I saw the entire trip, but there you go. Okay, this is a panoramic view from what would be the top of the Mount of Olives. You could see the whole city. And if you remember, Jesus goes into the city, has a few interactions, and then he immediately comes back out of the city, and he does what? He prays over the city, looking at the city. There's not a lot of spots where you can be and see the whole city. There might be two, but this is the most likely. And I think, now he could have been farther down this ridge here, it's possible, but when he prays over the city and says, Jerusalem, you've missed it. This would have been. So the pathway down is over here. Over here you have Garden of Gethsemane. Over this way, you have the Via Dolorosa that goes into the city. Here's the Golden Gate. Here's the Dome of the Rock. Here's the old city of David. Here is, what's the name of that? I always forget this one. The Kidron Valley, right there. There's that slope. Here's the southern steps. Kind of putting it all picture together. I think I zoomed in. Did I zoom in? Yeah, okay, all right. So obviously, all the tombs on the way down. You have the Kidron Valley. You have the city of David. You have the southern steps. Okay? And we're going to pan to the right a little bit. Okay? Eastern Gate. Dome of the Rock. Here's the walkway down. Okay, I think I got one more. Okay, over here would be the Garden of Gethsemane. And right here, wait. Right here is the Via Dolorosa. So you'd start here, walk down, it'd wind down, and it'd go up into the city. Okay? Go ahead. This was us, 1,000 pastors, 1,100 pastors worshiping. It's pretty cool. Go ahead. This is at the what was the name of that place again? Jerusalem Theater. Thank you. As Mike Huckabee. Go ahead. One of our panel discussions, they were talking about what do we do to move forward? How do we process this? Sharing some stories about different things that happen there. A lot of information. Is the video next? Okay. This is a video. It's a recap video. You will need audio for this. This is a recap video of our entire week, so you get to see a little bit of everything. You got audio?
I'm here to be part of the Ambassador Summit taking place this week.
1,000 pastors cross the sea to stand with Israel faithfully.
We're here for 7 days to support Israel.
It's imperative that we educate the younger generation on what it means to stand for Israel.
You're not alone.
I think that we need to awaken more courage inside believers around the world and to speak up for Israel.
Their voices hand in hand.
It's life-changing, and I'm excited about being a part and going back home and taking it back home with me.
Thank you so much for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, an historic event in Israel as more than 1,000 pastors and influencers travel to the Holy Land to show their support for the Jewish state in an unprecedented visit.
It's the first time in history the state of Israel has officially partnered with 1,000 strategic pastors to commission them as ambassadors to combat anti-Semitism and reach the youth of their generation.
I could have talked you blue in the face in America. You would have never gotten it until you came. This will make a difference in the life of this nation. It'll make a difference in shifting the narrative around the world, and we're committed to it.
Lord, I pray that as we start this day, that you will go before us. Lord, I pray that you will open our hearts and our eyes to see what you have for us during this visit.
We've been working with the hostage families since October 7th. This Hanani Award is to honor you for having the courage to not become a victim, but to become a victor.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
The highlight for this journey for me, and it really was an emotional shaking, was the first several days, seeing what actually happened on October 7th, and coming to a greater understanding of the trauma that the people of Israel, particularly the young people, had to have gone through.
6:29 in the morning, everyone in the kibbutz ran into the shelters. That was actually a trap, because no one was out to see what is going on.
You know, from the other side of the world, not hearing all the pieces and not being able to see a true picture of what's been happening over here in the Middle East.
These people here in this kibbutz represented that peace and working with the people of Gaza, and their response to all of that was to come in to kill them.
This is the largest delegation that the Foreign Ministry has ever brought.
On behalf of the Knesset and the State of Israel, I offer our deepest gratitude to Dr. Mike Evans, whose vision brought us all together on this historic evening, and to each and every one of you.
I hope you go back with the fire of God burning in your bones, and when you stand in the pulpit, you let the people of America know that it is time for us to simply be biblical.
You are pastors of faith, but I want to tell you something. This young man, he typifies the greatness of Israel because he never lost his faith in God in the hellhole.
I want to thank Mike Evans, which is doing extraordinary work for the nation of Israel. And I want to thank each of you for warding off darkness and spreading light all over the world. God bless you.
Here lie the soldiers who gave their lives in Israel's war.
Tomo was a true Zionist. He loved this country.
It's difficult for me to put into words someone so precious.
He stood and said, "My name is Anel Shapiro. I'm a soldier."
I can sense their heart, their pain, but also their strength in God.
Tell the stories among your community.
What these men and women did was be the human shield of this nation.
We cannot make the walk without fantastic support in the United States of America.
I would say I'm inspired by the courage of the Israeli soldiers and people.
Israel is a wonderful country, and they did not do anything to deserve what happened on October the 7th.
The disinformation about what's happening in the state of Israel is really pathetic.
Best information you'll ever get is to see it firsthand yourself and come here to Israel, go down to Gaza, and tour the country as well.
Over the past few days, he walked the path of the land of the Bible. The eternity of Israel, it's not an idea. It's a divine promise. Here in Shiloh, we see the promise coming alive just before our own eyes.
This is the Word of God. 80% of the Bible stories come out of Judea and Samaria. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And virtually everything in our Bible came out of this area. Praise God.
Mike, we want to present you with something very special today. With an honorary citizenship, you are becoming one of us right now, right here today. So thank you, Mike, for everything.
Mike, the new citizen of Judea and Samaria, but an old friend of the state of Israel and the Jewish people. We all fell in love with you. Thank you so much.
We were there at Hannah's prayer. And as Hannah prayed for her son, she cried out unto the Lord, and he answered. And then she brought back a prayer of thanksgiving. I'm taking home a prayer for the state of Israel, crying out to the Lord on behalf of this nation.
To be here in Shiloh, it makes, my heart just pound in a different beat.
Lord bless you and keep you.
Jesus walked on the steps you're sitting on, because this was the way up into the temple. You're sitting in the Bible right now.
These stones have bared witness to our sorrow, to our joy.
Peace be within your walls, and security within your towers.
The group began with prayer and worship on the ancient southern steps that led to the Temple Mount in Jesus' day. Then they visited the Western Wall.
This is the first time a group of this size has come to offer such a unique blessing and prayer.
Each have in their hands. I have Ori Arad, and this is a person who was massacred on October 7th. Every one of them, they'll hold in their hands. They'll take and put in the cracks of the wall, and they'll pray for their families.
Dr. Mike Evans, founder of the Friends of Zion Museum, worked with the Israeli Foreign Ministry to bring these pastors and influencers to Israel. Evans and the pastors met with Western Wall Rabbi Shmuel Rabinovich, who prayed Psalm 121, which proclaims God's protection over Israel. Rabinovich later commended the group for their support.
I'm looking at the great plan for my life. The president of Israel, my friend, came to me one day and said to me, Mike, I've never seen a human being from the depth of despair to achieve so much. You heard the voice of God. Well, we're hearing his voice today, aren't we? We're hearing it clearly.
I got to say, this has been the most amazing week. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. We've gone from location to location, and it's just as though when we got there, the Holy Spirit was just there waiting for us.
Dr. Evans, I thank you so much for giving me the trip of a lifetime. I've cried every day, and I will pray for you and for the Friends of Zion and for your ministry.
You know, it's one thing to read the scripture, or it's a different thing to come here and to see.
It became real to us. We saw the faces. You know, we felt the emotions.
Come to Israel and see and celebrate the people and the land and all that God has done here and all that he's doing.
It's going to change your life forever. You will never be the same.
You pulled off a killer party, bro.
You are making history today, and the first graduate of the Ambassador program for 1 Million Pastors Plan of Dr. Mike Evans and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the State of Israel and for the Jewish people. Thank you very much. Be blessed.
So there you heard it. The goal is to have 1 million pastors to learn and go and grow. I don't know. I'm ready to take a trip with all of you to go to Israel. So, all right. Before we go, anybody got any questions? Yes, sir. So the Rev Heifers would be the sanctifying, purifying of the temple, and they offer that before sacrifices. The significance is they have not found a Rev Heifer. What was it? 5 years ago? Somewhere in there. The Jewish rabbis will take the heifer and they will inspect every hair on the animal. If there is one blemish, it doesn't count. So to find now that there are some without blemish, again, we would say that leads to what? This is prophecy being fulfilled in our time, because this can be necessary. If they're going to rebuild a temple, they have to have that animal. Okay? And so now they have the animal, we just don't have the temple yet. Which, there's a good chance that we're in that generation. Okay? We've talked about that before, that very possible that I believe he's coming back soon. Anybody else? I don't know about you. So as prophecy unfolds. Go ahead. Anybody else? Yeah. No. It wasn't an annual festival that I'm aware of. It was just a gathering. And so there was people from all over the country went to it. So it was kind of like a music festival would be. Hey, they're going to have music and dancing, and we're going to go and have this party. And so, but it just so happened, because the drones were up almost surveying, like who's here, who's there. And so it was a shock to everybody what happened. Yeah. Yeah. And so there are some really cool maps and really cool things. I'll go to the back, and if you got questions, I can walk you through some of those. But kind of, it's one of those things that once you get there, it's like, oh, this is right here, this is right here. And you kind of, it does bring the Bible to life. When you're standing in a spot, like that was the first time I've been to Shiloh, when you're standing in a spot where it's like, and Hannah prayed right here, and God answered her prayer, and God called out to Samuel right here, and I could have sat in the garden for like another hour, man. It was just peaceful. It was just like, man, yeah. All right, anybody else? Yes, sir. Temple Mount, yes. Correct. Yeah, the question is, does it go from the Mount of Olives all the way down to the gate and split the gate, or does something else happen? So because it goes, so the Mount of Olives is here, it goes down into a valley and then slightly comes back up to that gate. So yeah, there is an earthquake coming when he stands. It says it'll split east to west. So yeah. Okay. Again, that which would explain, if they're reading through the entire Torah in one night, that would explain why no one's there. There was no, I think one of the guys shared with us that on the base that's closer there were less than 50 people on the base. And then when stuff started happening, he was left all by himself. He was the only one there. So, I mean, everyone was gone. It was Shabbat. So. Like, no, it was an Israeli thing. It was an Israeli thing. And again, it was I mean, you're not far from Gaza, but it was a celebration. It was a party. They had their DJs and everything else. Matter of fact, one of the DJs who was there, he rescued people, but he put the party together, and he ended up dying in the attack. So, anybody else? Yeah. What did I eat? Food. We had all kinds of food. We had, and pretty much every morning we ate at the hotel, and every morning except the Sabbath, because the Sabbath they don't cook, so you have a different food. But every morning there was a spread of fruits and vegetables. So take your pick. There was a spread of cheeses. There was a spread of breads. Then you had like your croissants and like chocolate-filled things and different things. Then like every morning there was like hard-boiled eggs. We had fried eggs with bread underneath. You had shashuka. Shashuka is lamb that is cooked in like almost like a red marinara sauce, pasta sauce. Then it has like peppers and onions in it, and then fried eggs in it. It's really good. And then we had blintz. You know blintz? Ever heard of blintz? It's a crepe that is stuffed with like a cream filling. Yeah, there's shashuka. That's good stuff. Blintz. So it's a crepe stuffed with like a cream cheese filling, and then rolled up kind of like a burrito. Really good. And then you had nuts and everything. So that was breakfast. Sometimes we went to a restaurant to eat, or we had a boxed lunch. We had hamburger, but they don't have hamburger like a patty. They rolled it up like a hot dog and put it on a skewer, like a skewered. What do you call those? Shish kebab. And so you had hamburger and chicken on a shish kebab, and that's So food was great. You had typically some seasonings or something that were a little bit different, but it was wonderful. Anybody else? Yes. The people that I'm not a coffee drinker. The people that I talked to said their coffee was better there than here. They had Turkish coffee, which some people didn't like because it had the grains in the bottom. And then the Jewish guys were just, listen, you just drink until you get to the grains. You stop drinking. That's how it works. But the coffee is pretty good. There's one place that everybody raved about that they like went to the old city and had coffee there. But yeah, it was. Now they had even the things where you press the button and you put your coffee in and it makes it. But then on Shabbat, those are closed. You can't use those because you're not allowed to do that. So you had to do it the old-fashioned way. So, okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. And my hope was this. I wanted to share one because I wanted to let you know what we were doing. But also I hope that it kind of maybe even brings the Bible to life for you a little bit. Maybe even helps you see what it was like. And I think even some things that we've looked at in Revelation, like we've looked at the Rev Heifer before, talking about the Mount of Olives where Jesus is going to return. And like that hopefully will give you a picture when we talk about it even in the future. Okay? Let me pray for you. I'll go back to the back table back there, and if you've got questions about some of those things, I think the map that is has the elevation is really unique because you could see how the valley works through Israel. And I think there's a map also of, I want to say it's Golgotha and the garden, that you could see how it sits in relation to the gate. But that's right there. Father, thank you again for a wonderful time that we were able to study your word and to know and to learn. And we just pray that you continue to help